Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I am going to be showing you basically my everyday kind of foundation routine. Um, it's pretty simple and I just wanted to put that out there just so you can see what I do so I don't have to put it in every video, and hopefully it's helpful to, most of you watching, or if you're just, interested. So first we're just gonna, tie my hair back, keep it out of my face, because nothing's worse than having those baby hairs that get stuck in your foundation. And then we're going to take my primer. This is just a living proof primer sample that I got, and I honestly love it a lot. It dries super fast, it feels really nice, and smells super good. So I'm definitely going to have to buy the actual product when I run out of the sample. But just rub that all over your face, get in your pores, and do that jazz. So once that's dry, I take my Kat Von D Lock-It foundation. I think I'm in light 43. And I just pop that on one of my Wet n Wilds. I think it's a foundation brush, and I just dot that everywhere and begin to just kind of buff it in my skin. I like using a brush the majority of the time compared to a beauty blender, because half the time I don't have that much patience or time to sit there and dab my face constantly. And I find that I still get a pretty even, smooth, consistent coverage when I do use this brush instead of the beauty blender, but it's really up to you. I think this brush was like $3 from Walmart, so I mean, it's definitely worth the investment. I have like 3 of them. So yeah, we're just gonna brush my face with some foundation, some goopy goop. And this is definitely a full coverage foundation. I know a lot of people ask me if I like it. I do like it a lot because I have a lot of uneven skin tone, and it just kind of makes everything one color. It is kind of, expensive. It's on the pricier side. There is a dupe, in my opinion, from Walmart, and it is the Rimmel Stay Matte foundation, and it has about the same coverage. I think it applies pretty much the same, so when I'm not using this, I am using that. And for that one, I use the shade Ivory, and that one is only like $3 or $6 compared to this one's like 46, I believe. So definitely check that out if you don't want to spend $1,000,000 on some foundation that you're gonna go through super fast. And then always dragging it down on my chin and my neck, just so you don't have that line. And just making sure everything's super nice and pretty. So next, I'm taking my Kat Von D Lock-It concealer and whiteout, and just making some dots underneath my eyes. I found that less is more with this, because if you do use a lot, it definitely does white out your face, kind of just washes you out. So I'm just taking the same brush, and instead of buffing it, I am patting it underneath my eyes. And this is just my base concealer to kind of brighten up underneath my eyes, because I do have pretty obvious bags, and I find that's what works best. Okay, and next I'm taking my Maybelline Fit Me concealer, which I heard was, and also, like, it's also a dupe for the Kat Von D Lock-It concealers. This one is in their lightest shade, and I'm kind of just going, underneath my eyes in like a triangle pattern in the creases of my mouth, and obviously on any blemishes that are still showing. And I do like to get my chin a lot, because that, for me, wears the fastest. My makeup definitely likes to slide off of my chin, so I always need to cover that up. And on my nose, and on the tip, and a little bit on my forehead. And then same thing, just doing those dabbing motions with the same brush. Super easy. Alright, so once I'm happy with that, I'm going to take my NYX translucent finishing powder, and I'm just going to take a disposable sponge triangle. Is that what they're called? Just rubbing that around and placing it underneath my eyes. I'm technically baking my face. Well, I'm baking my under eye area, but I set my entire face with it, but I really like to concentrate underneath my eyes to prevent any creasing or anything like that. Plus, you know, it brightens up my face a little bit more. If I do use too much of this, again, my face will just kind of get washed out and I'll just look super flat. I like to call it the potato look, but I'm trying to figure out the right balance for it, because it is a great powder. But if you have any good, on the cheaper side, translucent powders, go ahead and leave a comment below. I always like trying new things. This one is super cheap, but it's not my favorite. I'm just kind of using it because it's what I have. And then I'm just putting it in all the places that I put the concealer, just to make sure everything is where it needs to be. And then I'm taking my Too Faced Cocoa Contour palette and just a kind of really fluffy, it's a foundation brush, but I like to use it for my contour because it's super precise, and then if I flip it over, it makes it really easy to blend, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about right here. It blends up, so I really like that. I've been using some other contouring brushes that are, you know, designed for contouring, and I still go back to this just because it's the fastest and I think it applies the best. So try different brushes, even if it's not meant for what they say it is. If it works, it works. That's really all that matters. So be adventurous, because you never know. So obviously just gonna, you know, contour the cheekbones, and turn my ghostly face into a somewhat healthy looking face. And then doing the other side, going up into my temples a little bit and into my forehead. I like to kind of follow where the rest of my hairline would be, if that makes sense. So I kind of shade in where my widow peak kind of comes at a curve. And then obviously my double chin, because we don't want to look like a double chinner. And then just taking a Real Techniques fluffy brush, and I'm just going to kind of buff all of that out, wipe off any of that extra translucent powder I had, and just kind of blend everything together so it's not so intense. I did not put on any, well, I did not show you how I put on any blush or bronzer because I think that's pretty obvious. I pretty much go in the same kind of way that I put my foundation on. So this is just kind of the blank canvas is what I'm going to show you. And then next here, we are just looking cute, and trying to give yourself a nose job. And then I'm going to take just like a really fluffy angled brush. This is for eyeshadow and it's from Sephora. But I use it for my nose contour. And I kind of always do it different because I still am trying to figure out the best way to contour my nose. It is kind of bulby and crooked, so it's a little bit harder to work with, but I feel like I'm getting it down. So obviously I'm just going on the sides and then dragging it upwards towards my eyebrows, and really defining that, just because, like I said, my nose is pretty wonky, so I really like to make sure that the outline is super nice, and then you can always blend the rest of it out later. And then cutting underneath it, I do have somewhat of like a tip pointing down on my nose. So I like to kind of cut that out just to kind of appear a little bit more upward. And then I have been putting like 2 lines where my nostrils are to kind of make it look a little bit more natural. And then a line across the top of my nose to give that button nose effect. You can see this really emphasizes how circular my nose is. So yeah, this is what I'm doing currently. Oh yeah. And then with the same Real Techniques brush, we are going to buff that out as much as possible without getting rid of the entire outline. And then we're going to take that NYX powder again, and we're going to go back in with that triangle sponge. Now on the triangle sponges, they're really convenient because they have a really kind of rectangle flat side, and I like to use that for the sides of my nose. It fits perfectly. So I just get that with the powder, and then I go up tracing the sides of my nose, and this is really what kind of defines that nose contour that you just did and makes it look a lot more polished. And I always think it's super funny when I have it on my face because how small my nose looks, and I just love it, and I wish it always looked like that, but then I look like I have flour on my nose, so whatever. And then we're going to sharpen up our contour just a little bit. It really depends on what time of the day it is with how dramatic I go. When it's darker, I normally go a lot heavier with this, and then during the day, or if I'm going to work or whatever, it's definitely not this dramatic. I kind of cut out that nose contour and just go lightly with the bronzer and regular cheek contour. And then I'm taking like another kind of smaller fluffy brush. It's also from the Sephora line, and just kind of wiping everything away and blending it all together too. I always think that the more you blend it, the better it looks. But that's just me, so I blend a lot. Alright, and then other than that, that's really about it for my foundation. After that, I normally carry on with my eyebrows, which I already did, and my eyeshadow. So if you want a tutorial for this eyeshadow look, I will be happy to refilm it and post it for you guys. Didn't turn out how I wanted it to, but that's alright. So if you enjoyed this video, or if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.